If people don't get onto the AI wave, I feel like they will miss out moving forward. What are the qualities that I eventually look for in the people that I want to have on my team? So we are highly encouraging everybody to leverage AI in their daily job. In organizations, you have a dedicated AI product team.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Tim. I'm from Product Heads. I'm really excited today to be speaking to Martin Felcman, who is a Senior Director of Product Management at Productboard. Many of you will know Productboard as the leading software provider for product managers. They help product teams build the right products faster. Founded in 2014, Productboard has grown massively over the last 10 years, becoming a unicorn in 2022. They now have over 4,000 customers, including brands such as Zoom, Microsoft, and Disney, and they're regularly recognized as one of the best startups around and acknowledged as a top employer. Okay, so welcome, Martin. It's really great to speak to you today, and thanks very much for joining us on the call.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Tim.
Great. So obviously you've been at Productboard for, I think, 5 years. You had a slight interlude where you were off somewhere else, but Productboard, as we talked about, has had huge growth over the last 10 years, and you've been there for a good chunk of that. What I sort of wanted to start off talking to you about really was about product teams and building world-class product teams in a period of significant scale and growth. You've obviously held a leadership position throughout that period. So perhaps we could just start by thinking about that and how you start to think about building a product team in a company that's going to look very different kind of year on year as it grows and scales.
Yeah, I'll maybe for the context. So my whole career in product management has been associated to companies that we can say are early stage startups or scale ups between seed and Series D, typically. Coincidentally, and I think it plays quite a unique factor in all of my experiences, is that the companies were distributed between California and Central Europe, or Europe in general, which creates a bit of a unique twist to, for example, how do you communicate and how do you build those companies. But more, I think generally, at this stage, what has been common across those experiences is be highly adaptable. That's something what I would say, like, change is the only constant.
Yeah.
The other thing is resilience, because shit happens. Pardon my French, but that's the reality. And I think last years been particularly turbulent for many product companies. So being resilient and really stay focused is another one. And something what then goes into what are the qualities that I eventually look for in the people that I want to have on my team is ability to navigate ambiguity. So especially in early stage companies, you don't know in many areas what is going to happen in the next couple of months. You need to embrace it somehow, that there's a lot of things that you don't know, and work with what you know today. And it's easier or harder for some people. So focusing or trying to bring those that are okay to work in an environment that is a little bit more ambiguous and they don't need to have everything sorted out is I think quite important to master as a skill for people that want to be successful in startups in general.
Yeah, amazing. So resilience, adaptability, navigating ambiguity, amazing. And have you seen, does that still hold true? I think Productboard is sort of 300 plus people now. Obviously a very innovative company. You managed to scale and retain that ability to continue to innovate at pace, like a sort of day one startup. And so has that focus changed, or would you say that still holds true today?
I think it's still the same in many ways, because there are always new challenges. So we'll probably touch on today about AI, which brings a lot of novelty and requires a different approach. For us, we have also been throughout the journey focusing primarily on slightly different segments
Okay.
throughout the product development, starting first with smaller companies and digital first teams. Now, also we have many more enterprise organizations using Productboard, but also companies that go through the digital transformation. So
Yeah.
there is always some element of novelty and uncertainty that we need to adapt.
Yeah, and I think I mean product board's a really interesting product because it's almost, you're almost a kind of meta team in that you're a group of product managers building product software for product managers. And I always assume that that maybe comes with a bit of pressure in that there's potentially quite a bit of scrutiny there. But also, as we know, the product role is very, very different from an early stage startup to an enterprise company, and I can imagine the challenges of building a product for either end of those scales are pretty difficult.
Yes, it's like as you said, it's a very meta. At Productboard, we are building a product management platform for product organizations, and obviously through the conversations with customers, you have I think excellent opportunity to see in their product kitchen, and you see how the reality of a product management actually looks like in many companies, which is humbling on one side. On the other side, it's a great school for, I think, product managers, because you as a product manager in typical organization, you got the craft, which is your product
Yeah,
management skill set. On the other side, you get the domain knowledge. Here
yeah.
at Product Board, kind of like those two marry together. And so also when we talk about product board, how we think about product management, but also if we are reflecting on the journey as you asked previously of a product board. So you will always find those bits of what is part of our vision and mission, how product management should be done, and
Mhm.
for example, customer centricity is extremely important element
Yeah.
for us. We touch on different segments, so focus on different segments is something what not only deeply resonates with me, but is also, I think, something what is quite important for the organization and product team at Product Board.
Yeah, definitely, and it's a quite I mean, an interesting line to walk down in terms of being opinionated about how product management should be done, but also allowing for flexibility given the huge diversity of teams and organizations out there.
Yes, yes, and I feel like it has been, I feel like changing throughout the journey of how we approach that, and we really debated internally sometimes where we talk about product board as a product that is on one side opinionated, on the other side flexible,
Yeah.
and with some of the latest development, especially to meet the needs of the organizations that are, for example, coming from traditionally not a digital industry. So, like, how do we actually help them to succeed on that journey to become more agile in many cases, or more operate more as a product organization? So it's quite important for us. So when we talk about the solutions that we actually bring to our customers, it's not just about a feature that we throw on them, but also very often about best practices, and making sure that we associate the best practices with the feature itself. And it's, I think, something what can many other product managers in different industries relate to, because in our case we actually can see how it then drives the adoption. So I feel like
Mhm.
we have had some failures in the past. As a one particular feature that I keep talking about, that we just released, but it didn't really communicate the right best practices around it, and that the right solution there, for example, requires you to, for example, have a conversation internally on top of what you actually
Okay.
put in record to product board, and provide some sort of an update. But if people didn't do it and establish that process, or that process was kind of like happening somewhere ad hoc, it really had a negative impact on the adoption of a feature, and we really needed to do better. And I would like us to do even better when it comes to talking about best practices moving forward, because everybody is super hungry about it. And for example, right now we do see a great rise of product ops, and many people that were in adjacent product roles. They might not have been product managers particularly, but are getting into that, and that's where, for example, a lot of best practices still need to be created, because it's relatively new product role, and also given we discussed that ambiguity of
Yeah.
and adaptability. So finding the right balance there is particularly important.
Yeah, that's great, Martin, and it touches on one of the topics I'm keen to chat to you about as well, which is the changing nature of product and product teams. And I'm interested in that from both the perspective of inside, Productboard, and how the teams have had to change and evolve. And we'll get on to talking about AI, but obviously AI, impacts the kind of operational, day-to-day work of a product manager. But then also for your customers, have you seen like externally how product teams are changing? And you mentioned product ops, and it strikes me that Productboard is probably one of the tools that can help facilitate that transition, and is probably very relevant to ops teams as it has been in the past to smaller product teams.
Yeah, I mean, like the product operations isn't something what somehow occurred out of the blue. Very often, it would be head of product or director, for example, in a bigger organization that would take some of the elements of that role. But right now, if we see that we want product teams and product managers to focus on the product and kind of like take a bit off their plate when it comes to managing the process, etc., getting insights in the right format. We want them to be highly productive, and that's where the product operation function helps tremendously, because it's a multiplication factor very much. It's super important, especially if everything is faster and company then starts to realize how valuable time of a product managers actually is. So that's where product operations can help, but also on the other side damage a lot of things as well. If you, for example, bring too much rigid process there, if you require too much of a reporting. So the right balance is something what I think is the hardest part of product operations. But I think moving forward, we will see even more evolution, how, especially in bigger organizations, how this role shapes up and what are all the responsibilities, how it helps, for example, with acceleration of a user research and bringing customer insights to the process. Also on the quantitative side, so product analytics, market insights, and generally kind of like in bring the insights that are available for the whole organization, and every PM then in the organization can tap into. I think this is still area that is going to shape up quite a lot in the future.
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting. I see some of the big product analytics tools are starting to include kind of road mapping and planning features, I think, into their products. They're sort of coming at it that way. And I know that obviously Productboard has a load of integrations and allows you to bring all of this data into a single place, making it easier for product managers to obviously access that data. And again, kind of moving down that product ops road, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, like it's like we see, for example, there are categories forming in different industries. So we have seen, and probably the one that is quite well known is around Salesforce and CRM. I think we can see, for example, Jira and Atlassian when it comes to agile development, kind of like those very much become a synonym in product management. We do hope and believe that Productboard will be associated with the product excellence category, as we focus on the on the broader life cycle of the management of the product.
Mhm.
But there are pockets of different tools that started as specialized tools and now kind of like shift a little bit more, add more use cases on top of their core business. So.
Mhm. And Martin, what are the biggest challenges you're seeing product teams have at the moment, and how are you kind of trying to address those? So if you think, over the next kind of year or 2 years, what are those big areas that product teams are either, aspirational, like we really need to be good in this area, we need to get better at certain aspects, or that are already there and are kind of crying out for support in certain areas?
I think very often it depends on the context of the organization
Yeah.
where their particular domain is going. However, for many organizations, it's definitely the AI and how do you actually bring AI to the organization. So people are still trying to figure it out. Not sure whether it's like a hard challenge in the terms, but definitely something where if people don't get onto the AI wave, I feel like they will miss out moving forward, and it will not only have a eventually negative impact on their own career, but also on the success of the organization. So that's definitely the one that is highly debated in the industry. When it comes to more practical and daily challenges of product organization, so it's still predominantly customer centricity and like how do you really bring customer into your product development, and that's something what is our very much a core focus. Like we are a company very much focusing on that customer centricity and making sure that customer is represented throughout every step of a product development. So that's definitely the one, and it's because of volume of feedback. Now you have all of those touch points. How do you actually bring it, and how do you make sense out of it? So it's non-trivial challenge. How do you actually direct the right insights to the right people to make great decisions?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like a more like a continuous challenge because we are living in the world where there will be more and more signals. So that balancing signal and noise ratio is something what I think will always take a lot of efforts to do very well.
Yeah.
And probably the third one that I would mention is how do you engage with product executives and kind of like how do you get out of the daily busy work and really provide great updates when it comes to what is going on, where do you need help, but also on the very top. So are we making a right investment? What is the return here? And kind of like if we see it as a different layers of a product, so less of a management of features as I feel like smaller solutions.
Mhm.
Also see a big shift, and we talk about it for quite some time, a shift from outputs to outcomes.
Yeah.
But really to talk about the products and product capabilities. And so that's something what I'm particularly excited about, and it's something what we'll be focusing on this year. If I try to mention it a little bit, because that's something what I believe is a true product management and a true product leadership to think about which of the product capabilities serve different use cases, how do customers interact with them,
Yeah.
and how do you monetize them, how do you bring value to them, capture it, etc., etc. So it's like you get kind of like rid of that busy work of shipping, but take a step back. So that's
And
probably the one.
yeah, that's great. Thanks, Martin. And have you found that that's got harder as product board has got bigger, uh, from a couple of different directions? I mean, first off, I always feel like, in startup mode, it's just about survival, right? You're just trying to get wind in the sails, and hopefully the next thing to do is fairly obvious, because like if you don't do it, the company fails. And then perhaps as it gets bigger, there are potentially lots of options and lots of competing possibilities and directions to go in. And you've maybe got a bit more time to make decisions, perhaps. And I think there's a real risk that companies can drift. So I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on how, as a product leader and executive in Productboard, you manage to maintain focus once you're managing to feed yourselves and you're sort of growing, and you've maybe got a bit more time in your hands.
Yeah, I feel like that first challenge that I mentioned is partly bigger or is getting bigger the bigger the organization is.
Okay.
And so the more layers you have, and sometimes more major product or even diverse portfolio you have, so things get more complex and complicated there. For us, we are a company that has one core product, market as a product board, and then let's say one more that we acquired, and one more SKU that we sell separately. So it's not as complex there. In our case, also we have a founder that is deeply involved in a product and is a product person. So in our case, like it's again, we would get to that point of it's very meta, but it's particularly something what we see in bigger organizations that we work with, because that's something where on one side they want to get more efficient,
Mm-hmm.
and the efficiency very often is associated with like how do we engage with different layers of the organization, how do we communicate this, how do we do that, because their product managers and product leaders very often still use spreadsheets and presentations to do product management
Yeah.
work, or to produce the outputs. But once they actually create it and it's presented somewhere, it suddenly becomes outdated, and next week they are very much starting from scratch, if I put it that way. So that's something what is still a big challenge. And for us, we say that our biggest competitor and enemy are the status quo tools, which are particularly these two spreadsheets in different forms from different providers and presentations.
Yeah, I think I saw a quote years ago that said, if you're building software in any domain, then spreadsheets are probably your biggest competitor that kind of most people don't really consider as being a competitor. And I think that point about having a single product, pretty much a single product, is particularly valid. You kind of managed to build a unicorn company of one product, and there are plenty of founders and businesses out there who aren't at that stage yet and are maybe tempted to swim in different waters and create new products to try and access new markets and drive that revenue. I guess there's always a tension in that, but you've obviously managed to kind of double down on your kind of core mission and stay nice and focused.
Yeah, but it has also been, I think, very hard for the company and everybody here, because like the mantra here would be like focus on the one thing and like do it very well. And while we stay focused on particular segment, which is one dimension, so who do you serve? And I think that was really important, and a great factor in the success of the company. We had the three core, if I put it, jobs to be done that we actually focus on and push forward. But it's also because we strongly believe in that connection between the customer centricity, voice of the customer, and how do you then factor it in prioritization and planning.
Yeah.
But you will actually find many different organizations and product organizations in our area focus on just on one job, but then they eventually miss the other element, or it's hard for their customers to orchestrate all of that. So there are some companies coming more from that planning angle and prioritization angle. There are some companies focused on the voice of the customer, but Productboard is one of the very few companies that actually focuses on bridging all of that and connecting the dots between the customer and what you actually work on and how do you prioritize.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. And I want to sort of, obviously, we mentioned AI a couple of times on the call. It's obviously a massive factor, and I'm keen to talk about AI from a number of perspectives. Obviously, there's a lot of discussion going on around AI killing all jobs, and there's a lot of talk at the moment about product management and how AI is changing, obviously changing product management, and is product management going to disappear, which is obviously not. And I think there was a World Economic Forum report out recently that suggested product is going to grow by sort of 20% as a sort of job category in the market. So it's obviously alive and well, despite fluctuations in the general economic outlook. So I'm interested in your kind of take on AI, how you're using AI as a team in Productboard, and then obviously I want to get on and talk about the fantastic work that you've done, in Productboard using AI, and how you've been able to, adopt it in an existing product. But let's kind of start off. I'm keen to explore, how your product team is using AI, and how you see it develop in the next sort of 5 years.
So I'm like, if I just focus on the latest phase of
Yep.
large language model. So what actually started with, so everybody at Productboard get access to their favorite LLM provider and the tools there. I'm personally using
Yeah.
using two of them, and for example, here over the Christmas break, I had a long overdue task to actually build my own GPT and play with that a little
Right.
bit more. So we are highly encouraging everybody to leverage AI in their daily job. It's same in product, it's same in engineering, for example,
Mhm.
in design as well. We want to be very close to it, and I'm a big believer that kind of like we will be shifting, and again it gets very meta from the model where in organizations you have a dedicated AI product teams or product teams focusing particularly on AI and
Yeah.
bring AI into product and some sort of like a fusion to the model where every product manager needs to think about how do they actually embed AI capabilities where it make actually sense and where it
Yeah.
adds a value to the customer. And so I strongly believe that every PM should spend some time to educate themselves, but also to have a time to play with stuff, because there's just so many great stuff that is out there every day. If you look at Product Hunt or any other favorite site that you follow, Reddit, there is a ton of new AI startups that are trying to do something here and there, and I think it's a great exercise to think about how you might leverage this type of technology, the way how they use it, how they think about it in your product, but
Yeah.
also in your daily tasks.
Yeah.
Because we then bring it to product board. I strongly believe that in nearly every step of a product manager job, and in nearly in every activity that they perform, there is some opportunity to use AI, either to make you more efficient, but
Mhm.
or make you more insightful, which then leads to making you
Yeah.
more innovative in terms
Yeah.
of how do you then build your products. But I think we will still see a ton of great stuff. So now I'm particularly excited about AI agents and how will they actually change the world in many ways, which is also, I think, particularly important for product board, because we are a system of record, and so kind of like plugging AI agents in can actually accelerate a lot of workflows that people do. And again, we can make them much more efficient, but also much more insightful and innovative.
Yeah, amazing. And you touched on it there, but I mean, there will be lots and lots of product managers out there whose, CEOs or CPOs or CTOs are sort of saying, we need AI. Just a sort of broad statement. We need AI because they recognize that this is a bus they need to be on. And it strikes me that over the last year, probably longer, but externally, what I've seen over the last year is Productboard deploying very kind of applicable, kind of relevant AI within the products. I'm really interested to understand like how you went from, because presumably at some point there was a discussion in Productboard around, wow, this is coming and we need to do something about it, but you didn't really know like how you were going to use it in the product, and just how you've kind of gone on that journey from that broad sort of we need to do something with AI to actually deploying really kind of pragmatic applications of it.
Yeah, and I'm smiling a little bit because the journey started way before
Right.
the open AI way with GPT-3 particularly that kind of like started this whole madness around AI. And it started nearly 5 years ago.
Okay.
For us, we actually brought our first machine learning engineer to the organization, and it's because we have been deeply analyzing what are the most tedious tasks and where some sort of automation. And at that point, it was a recommendation engine that we were building to actually connect the particular feedback with the feature ideas that you have
Nice.
uh, in your product hierarchy, how you think about the product. And it's is a perfect use case for that. But it was also like it was the reason why we focus on that particular area is because it was a high effort for a PM. It felt like a tedious task. On the other side, it was high reward.
Yeah.
So that made most sense for us to start there. We were actually building at that point our own models that were tailored to specific customer data because of the privacy. We can't mix
Mhm.
customer data, and it was awesome to see initial impact. However, a few years after, and I think we would go back roughly 18 months, uh, and the rise of large language models, it completely changed the game in a way how we operate, and
Mhm.
also in a way how we thought about AI. For us, also for many other organizations, there's still that traditional like building your own model. But for the use case that we actually had, we shifted quite a lot to not building our own models, but leveraging those large language models and then fine tuning the prompts on top of it
Yeah.
while applying some additional contextual magic because we know what the data actually is. We know that, for example, it's a product feedback. We know that this is a context of a customer. We know that this is a feature idea, and so factoring that in a way how you actually work with the large language models, and how do you actually fine tune it to get the best output is quite important. So even the role of machine learning engineer has changed quite a lot. And there's a much more of a operational side of machine learning operation, but also more of a prompting and prompt engineering. And so that's something what has been a big shift in terms of how we build the product. When it comes to the areas that we focus on, so for us, we get a feedback primarily in a textual form, and so actually working with that large language models is a perfect solution for us here, and perfect help because they are great with summarization. They are great with like searching and analyzing data. We use it for topics clustering, for example, when it comes to voice of the customer,
Yeah.
and similar activities that are happening downstream when it comes to like helping you to create the right product brief from the insight that you have from the customer. So again, leveraging the data that we already have in Productboard. However, we are not going to stop here. We are still fairly focused on the feedback area because that's, as I mentioned, a high effort, high reward type of scenario. but there's just so many stuff moving forward that we see a great where we see great potential, and there's definitely something what is still going to happen in the area of AI with, for example, AI agents. So we are closely paying attention to it, monitoring it, and seeing how it can actually add value to Productboard.
Yeah, great. And yeah, that obviously shows through the product that you've managed to blend that that interest in technology that is just now available with your your core kind of principles of staying close to the customer and really understanding their jobs to be done in order to solve valuable problems for them. I think that's very evident in the features that you've been deploying. Which is terrific. And then Martin, so quick question. You were talking about AI engineers. Do you have AI engineers in each of your product squads now, or is that a separate team, or how do you run that?
We are currently moving from centralized AI product team. So like we still have a centralized one,
Yeah.
since we operate primarily in one area. So it made sense for us. But we have one team that is it's very meta, but like it's called Insights, focus on how do you actually extract insights, and AI product team is actually working very closely with them on those core AI capabilities there. Moving forward, this year we'll be moving to the model where AI is something what each PM should think about. So each PM is owning a certain use cases in the product, and like they have to think about like, hey, here it would actually add a ton of value if we, for example, advance this particular activity with AI this way, this way, this way. Uh, and then the AI team, as it is today, shifting more towards the platform model. So kind of like making sure that we have a right set of capabilities across the whole platform, because very often there will be the similar activities that will be happening throughout the different use cases. For example, is summarization of a text, and so on one side you might have a summarization of a product feedback. On the other side, you might have a summarization, for example, of reports or updates that you actually put in a product board. So even though they might be slightly different prompts, how do you actually process it? How do you summarize it? The very core parts of the platform are going to be shared across. There's going to be the layer that we are going to manage there. For example, using different providers for different jobs and use cases to actually see which one of them are better than the other. Also, in our case. Still in the industry, you, for example, have a preferred provider of AI models, and for example, can't use one because the other one is improved in the organization. So those are going to be some of the responsibilities of that AI platform team moving forward. But in the first phase, I would put it that way. We really wanted to have everybody closely together in one team, and so currently we have a product manager, designer, in engineering, like product engineering, and machine learning or AI engineering in the one team in order to move very quickly. And here, particularly, like we have adjusted the ways of working for the team quite a lot, and it diverges from, let's say, standard product teams operating at Productboard. So we are right on the verge of that shift, and I believe that it will be quite common for many organizations, depending on the industry and the value of AI there. So it might differ, but I think we will see more of the similar shifts moving forward.
Amazing. Thanks, Martin. And I'm really keen, obviously, AI is obviously, playing a huge part in Productboard and the product as customers starting using it. I wonder if you could just tell us about, what we can expect, what's coming, what's going to be new in 2025 and beyond for Productboard, and what we can all get excited about.
Yeah, look, so many great stuff, and I'm super excited about every single one of them. So it's very hard to pick one or two. Also, I don't want to spoil too much because there's still some element of a secret there. However, I can share that this year will be for us about, as I mentioned, like one of the great challenges is how do you actually bring product executives and how product managers, product leaders work then with the product executives. So we will be focusing on that, bringing more value to all the layers of the organization through the strategic planning and advancements of how do you embed strategy and how do you work with the product strategy throughout the whole life cycle. How do you manage the product portfolio and understand ROI? On the other side, as I mentioned, customer centricity is our DNA, and it's where we use AI the most at this point. So we will be advancing in this area. It's absolutely essential for us to continue building here, and we'll be working more on how do we actually embed that voice of the customer in every step. There is still a lot of stuff that we would like to do, and we would like to help organizations to advance.
Mm-hmm.
Which also leads me to the third area, and it's collaboration, which is in our case twofold. One is actually having a design and engineering involved quite early in the process. So how do we bring them more to Productboard? And last year we have launched some of the collaborative capabilities, making it easier. So we still have some unfinished job there. But more importantly, how do you engage with customers to create products with you? So we, for example, have a customer-facing functionality called Portal. So how do you, for example, engage with them? And it's again associated, like links back to how do you actually bring the voice of the customer into the process, and many more stuff that are there for customers to make sure that people love the product that we built, and it fits the organizations that want to build a product that matters, which is a bit of a cheesy way how to also share what is actually our mission, which is building the product that matter together.
Amazing. Martin, look, thanks so much for your time today. I've really enjoyed the conversation. We've covered a load of great ground, and it's been great to talk to you. And we look forward to seeing all those ideas come to fruition in Productboard over the next year or so.
Awesome, Tim. Thank you very much for having me, and can't wait for the next conversation.
Great stuff.